Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Eugen. In this one, I have for you a first look at the 8th CAVALERIE PURTATÂ, a new division available in the upcoming DLC, Blood Feud in Transylvania. As a disclaimer, Eugen has given me free access to the DLC, so big thanks to them. Also, please remember that this is an early preview and what you see may be subject to change. If you'd like to read the description on the right hand side, feel free to pause the video and take a look, but I'm going to be jumping straight on in. And as usual, we'll go through all of the units that are available and we'll put together a quick deck. So starting off in the Recon tab, we have the Moto Mitragliera. This is your classic motorcycle. I would usually skip over this, but in this case, it is a radio option, which you don't get in any of the other Recon units. So something to bear in mind at least. Then we have the R1, which is the first of the armor we're going to be seeing in this division, the first of the limited armor that we're going to be seeing. This has really low armor values, but can be used for extra suppression in those infantry engagements, and that's basically what you're going to be wanting to use it for. Light cover, just spraying down enemy infantry. Then we have the 8TH. The two-man recon squad's pretty standard stuff, great for hiding about the place, but unfortunately they can't be brought in with any good transport, so you're not getting any extra recon vehicles out of this unit like you would with like the Aufklärer, getting like the Kubel MG, or things like the 222 and so on. So unfortunately you're not getting that. But we do have the Lunatist here. Unfortunately these, again, not ideal. They don't get any nice transports. And they're forced to have 2 vet, which means that their availability is pretty low. You only get 2, 4, and 6 on a card, and that is really not ideal because these basically end up in the same role as the 8TH. It's just like obviously having the sniper there is useful for picking off the odd unit. Then we have the 8TH Moto. Again, transport's a little underwhelming. At least these guys can come in with a transport vehicle that has recon. The half track there, the SPW MIC. This loadout is an interesting one. They get 2 of the Odita, which is the submachine gun with the 60% accuracy, decent submachine gun. Then we have the ZB24 and the ZB30 automatic rifle. So all of these units can be, or all of these weapons, sorry, can be fired at minimum range. And then we have the Panzerfaust there as well. So you got a machine gun squad with the Panzerfaust. The only trouble you might find is if you forget to put these on return fire or turn off the machine gun. They will reveal themselves when you don't want them to. But you do get through in a card. They might be a little bit expensive for what they are. But yeah, pretty standard 5-man squad. I kind of like that they're 5-man, to be honest, actually. Then we have the AB Horch. This is your classic 20mm recon vehicle. Only 1 card of these available. You get 6 in A and 12 in B. Then there's the Kardashian. These guys have the 2 MP41s, the ZB24 and the Carabiner with the Panzerfaust. Really strong squads these are. 10-man sniper squads are always fantastic. And if you compare like the value of this compared to like the value of the 8TH Moto, you get so much more. You get an extra 5 men for 5 points. You get the Panzerfaust just like the 8TH Moto, and then you get the sniper instead of the machine gun basically. So yeah, a really, really strong squad, and definitely something I'd recommend bringing in large quantities because you do get 4 cards of them. Moving into the infantry tab, we have the Rosciore PM. These guys have 5 Carabiner and the ZB30s. Decent squad for engaging at range. Like at the 500 meter range, they're going to get all of the DPS down on the target, so 1.5 damage at range, plus the PTRD for dealing with armored targets, or well, light armored targets. They're an eco squad. You can only bring them in phase A, but their veterancy curve's not too bad. You can probably at least bring them in at 1 vet to get them a little bit better. Then we have a card of the Pioniere Calare. These guys, 2 Berettas, 6 Carabiner, ZB30s, and the HE grenade. These guys are very strong for 25 points, and their availability is really good. So you're not getting standard Pioneer availability of like 5 in A and 10 in B, you're getting 9 in A and 18 in B, which is pretty huge. And if you upvet them, you benefit from the extra availability as well. So really nice, strong squad. Breda's obviously really good at close range, getting that extra HE explosive on top, plus the fact you're using automatic rifles, pretty top notch. Then we have the standard squads of this division, the Rosciare. These guys come with a Beretta, the Carabina, 2 ZB30s, and an anti-tank grenade. For 25 points, their loadout is not anywhere near as good as like the Pianelli Calare, because of the extra like Beretta and HE makes them kind of specialized for that close range. But the Rosciare, they kind of are in a weird spot because whilst they can put down a lot of DPS at close range still, their AT option is kind of meh. And so like the price of them isn't that good. I don't know. It's a standard squad. The nice thing about them, though, as usual with these squads so far, is the availability. So 8 in phase A with 1 vet. These could get super strong if you get them up to 3 vet using leaders and commanders. Then we have the Vinatale Degada. These guys are 12-man fanatical squads with the MP28, the ZB24 and the ZB30s. Again, all of these weapons can be used at close range. And then you have the anti-tank grenades. So you're kind of in a similar position in terms of like long range firepower to the Rosciare, but you get way more close range firepower. You know, you see the like 0.4 damage on the Beretta. Yes, the Beretta has the extra 150 meter range, but when you're actually in those closer range engagements, the MP28 is going to be putting out, you know, 3 times more damage. So it's a pretty big deal. And since they are fanatical, they're going to be fighting to the last man, which is really, really strong. Availability wise, 6, 12, and 18 at 1 vet. Making these 3 vet close range engagements going to be really scary, especially for 25 points as well. Then we have the Kardashian Moto. Again, 5 cards available of these, and these are really strong. Sort of the equivalent to Panzergrens in that they get 2 MG42s, so great option for longer range engagements. These are definitely going to be your go-to, and currently availability is 12, 24, 32 again, which is really strong, enabling you to get really high veterancy without suffering from too much availability loss. Really, really awesome unit. Then we have some of the leader units. We've got the Kardashian Moto leader, which has 1 Orita and the MP44 and a smoke grenade for 30 points. Kind of overpriced. I would expect this squad to be like 20 points, honestly. Especially considering you only get 3 men. Then there's the Rosciare leader. These are a little bit more bearable because of the triple Beretta, which is actually really strong. And then they have the smoke grenade and the Panzerfaust. So a bit more versatility there, which is very, very nice indeed. And you can bring these in A, B, and C. And then we have the Vinatale Degada leader. These guys, 8 of the MP28s and a smoke grenade. So 5-man squad with recon, coming at 2 vet in phase A. Really solid choice in the early game for leaders. Honestly, yeah. Big fan of those. Then we have the Rosciare Assault. These guys are really nice Molotov squads. You get 4 Berettas with 150 meter range, 65% accuracy. You get the Carabina for the extra DPS, and then you get the Molotovs. And the Molotovs, of course, fantastic for making enemy units move, and then because they're moving, they lose their entrenchment, and that's when you do the extra damage. So really, really strong in those close range engagements. Finally, there's the Pianelli Calare leader, which has the Beretta, Carabina, and the Panzerschreck. This is for 35 points. Another really strong option in the early game, particularly since they can come like with the Horge. So they can get like ahead of the Kubels and kind of pick off enemy units. You can catch out enemy units with that Panzerschreck. It's not too bad. But yeah, the 5-man squad is also really strong. Moving on to the tank tab. Pretty anemic. Just the Turan 2, which you can only bring in phase A. 1 vet, you get 4 of them. 2 vet, you get 3 of them. Probably going to want to be bringing them in at 2 vet. Turan 2 having 55% pen on its standard AP shell. The main thing that makes the Turan 2 desirable, though, is its heat round. 90mm penetration can make it kill some medium tanks at closer ranges. And then it's also got that HE shell. And with the extra veterancy, you're pushing rate of fire to 16 rounds per minute, which is really good. Then there's the Zarini. This is pretty much an assault gun tank. It just has a big old 105 with heat rounds, which do 100mm of penetration, so you are going to be able to kill things like Shermans. And you have 30% accuracy with 6 round per minute rate of fire, which isn't too bad. I compare this thing to the likes of like the Gebirgsjäger 105 vehicles, which have like only 3 round per minute rate of fire. These are very similar, but better rate of fire. So pretty strong. And you get 5 in A with no vet, 4 with 1 vet, and 3 with 2 vet. So 3 vet probably going to be, again, pretty desirable, even though you are going to be clipping off valuable armored units. So I don't know, I'm not 100% sure on that yet. Let's move over to the support tab. We have the Gendarmerie. Gendarmerie, not really that useful because you don't really have any disheartened troops in the infantry tab, but your standard 8-man squad there for the Romanians. Then we have the Schwaloser machine gun, probably the machine gun of choice here. Either that or the ZBs, which are slightly more expensive, but the only reason you have the ZB is for the range. Otherwise, you're not really getting much extra out of it. So, yeah, ZB could be worth taking with extra vet just to kind of match those like MG34s. It won't quite match MG42s, of course, but yeah, it's an option. Then we have the Breda. These can be actually kind of scary because they can transport snipe quite well and they hide very well because they have very good stealth. So you can often transport snipe quite well with the AP round. And then they, in this case, because they're in the support tab, they get 55 HE shells, and when they fire at 20 rounds per minute, and plus with the extra veterancy they get even more. These can actually clean out enemy support weapons and enemy infantry squads that are in range quite nicely. So yeah, actually became more of a fan of these after playing more 1v1. Then we have 3 cards of the supply trucks, the classic Ford with the 10,000 supply. There's also the option of the Hotchkiss, but always kind of overpriced, honestly, and not as good as like the 40-point equivalent for the Americans, for example, which would be the 50 cal, which is just obviously way better. Then we have the commanders. We got the Tatra commander, we got the infantry commander, and then we've got a half-track commander. Infantry commander is probably going to be a go-to here because the other two are quite lackluster. Then moving on to the anti-tank tab, we've got the Panzerschreck available. You can bring these in A, B, and C, so you can kind of spread these out with the Vinatale Degada. You've got the Orita and the Panzerschreck, 4, 8, and 12 availability. And then you've got the Vinatale Degada, which is the one squad I mentioned, which has the 5 Orita, ZB, and the HE grenades. Super good close range infantry squad, plus a Panzerschreck. So that's something definitely to bear in mind. Again, 4, 8, and 12 in availability. So a really nice option. You're probably going to be wanting to rely on these quite a lot due to your armor being relatively limited. Then we have the 45mm AT guns. Classic 45mm. Really nice. Especially with like the extra 1 vet there. Pushes the rate of fire from 12 to 14. Then you can pick off stuff at the 1250 meter range with the HE, like you can do with the Breda. So yeah, quite like the 45s. Then you get the Schneider 45, which is just solely AP rounds. Can be dotted about for picking off enemy transports. Could actually be quite annoying to dot around, just since you get so many availability of these. Well, it's like 6 and 9, and they're very cheap, so you can get away with dotting them around. You also get a card of Pack 38. It's again 6 available in A, which is really good. These are great for demolishing medium tanks in the early game. And then you get 5 oh sorry, 9 and 12. And there's the Takam R2. So very cool tank here. Even got the man inside there, look at that. And you've got the Zis 3 gun basically in this on an armoured hull, which has 55mm of frontal armour. I think it's the Panzer 38T hull, if I'm correct. I'm sure you guys will correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, 4 available in A, 8 available in B, and 12 available in C. For 45 points, especially since when you upvet them you don't really lose much availability, these are quite nice. Kind of similar to an Su-76. Then we have the Reshidza. Now this is where Romanian AT gets really scary. These things are amazing. 15 round per minute rate of fire at 2,000 meters with 160mm of penetration. Really, really strong. The only trouble that you get with the Reshidza is availability. Now in this case you do get 2 cards, but you're only getting 2 in A, 4 in B, and then 6 in C. So you're going to have to choose when you're going to use these. And I would honestly, if you're playing team games, probably go B and C early game. If you're playing like 1v1s or 2v2s, you're going to be wanting these in A and B. Jagdpanzer is available as well, but you only get 4 of them in phase A. You can upvet them without losing too much availability, so I'd probably push these to at least 1 vet. Gets a little bit of extra rate of fire. You push the accuracy up on these and kind of gets them over that 50%, so you're more likely to hit with each shot. Classic Jagdpanzer. Actually, pretty nice unit. Then we have the anti-air, so the Hotchkiss trucks, the double Hotchkiss. Great en masse, but otherwise kind of struggle. You get 6 in A, 12 in B, and 18 in C. There's the 20 mils available. Unfortunately, not too many great transports, but you can actually bring them in the Hotchkiss trucks, so you can get... Oh, yeah, that's actually pretty good transport now, so I think about it. Yeah, since you can bring them in with the Hotchkiss trucks, that's actually a pretty nice combination early on for pinning down enemy aircraft. Then there's the 25 mil. This can also be brought in with the Hotchkiss truck. Going to be a better option, simply due to that raise in caliber. 25mm AA does a lot better than 20mm AA in terms of damage. So, like, it looks like it's not that much, but it does make a difference. Especially, I think it's mainly because of like the blast or something that allows the shells to connect more to enemy aircraft. I'm not entirely sure about that, but either way, definitely a better option in my eyes. There is some Bofors available. You can get these in phase A and B. Again, can be brought in with the Hotchkiss trucks. And then there's the Vickers, which is your classic long-range option for the Romanians. And these can be brought in with supply trucks if you want to. The Famo is pretty good. It's fast enough for where you're going to be taking it. It does get 145mm AP shells, but they're only at 1,750 meter range, so bear that in mind. Rate of fire, if you upvet them, can be pretty strong. And also they can get pretty accurate, just like AC-8, so you end up like one-shotting fighters out of the sky, which is kind of fun. Moving on to the artillery tab, we have the Artilleria. These guys, the observers, these are the 2-man Orita with the Nebel hand granata. Another option, good option for recon, or sorry, not recon. Technically, yes, recon, but also radios. So yeah, this is a decent option for radios. Although I think in this division, you're going to mainly get your radios from your leaders and also like the artillery leader here, because you're probably not going to be putting 2 leader squads in the infantry tab, because the infantry tab, whilst it's relatively cheap in availability or activation cost, sorry, it's not that many total cards, so you're probably going to be taking the artillery leader, and the artillery tab here isn't too expensive either. Then we have the 60mm mortars, your classic Romanian 60mm mortars. Can be kind of annoying to deal with if you have a lot of them, so your enemy can get quite frustrated going up against a lot of these. There's also the classic 81 Mil Mortars available. Standard availability for 8 and 12. Then there's the 75 Mil howitzer. This does have radio capability. So for 60 points you get 4 in A, which is actually not too bad. And you can bring them in with the trucks if you want to get them in quickly. There's also the 100 Mil with radio, and this can be brought in with the supply truck. So a pretty nice option actually, since you can get 3 in A and 6 in B. Like having some of these early, maybe without the extra supply, could be pretty nice for pinning down enemy units early on if you do have radio. Then there's 120 Mil Mortars available. Only 2 available in A and 4 available in C. Or B, sorry. And you also get a card of off-map, which comes in A, B and C. 1, 2 and 3 availability through the phases. And this is 220mm off-map, which you can call in twice. And it calls in 32 shells a time. Then we have the air tab. The Ju-88 Recon. Get 2 of these in A, which is actually not too bad since these have very good resilience. Then we have the Ju-87 D3 65 point 250 kilogram bomb. Ju-87, not too bad. 3 availability in phase A can make these a great starter aircraft, like to have at the very beginning. And there's a HS-129 Recon. This gets 2 20 mils in the nose. And also the 2 machine guns. So potential strafing capabilities, I guess, but I don't think it would do that much damage. But yeah, for 70 points, another very good resilience aircraft to have flying about. You do lose a bit of speed though, because HS-129s are very slow indeed. There's also a Ju-87, which you can get 3 in A. With the 250 kilogram bomb and 50 kilogram bombs. One thing that is kind of interesting here is you could definitely stack a lot of Ju-87s in phase A if you wanted to, because the availability on those is very generous. Then you get the HS-129B2R4. This thing is just a strafer with 6 50 kilogram bombs, 315 kilometers per hour speed. It's not really that good. This could be like 60 points and you'd probably still not take it. And there's the BF-109G2, the first of your fighter options. This is the 620 km per hour speed variant. Very, very fast. You get them at decent veterancy. Only trouble is at 2 vet, you do sacrifice a lot of availability. But you're going to want probably more than one of these in at a time if you want to reliably shoot down anything larger than an enemy fighter. So yeah, if you're taking these, bear that in mind. Then there's the Ju-87 D3 cluster plane. Your standard Ju-87 cluster. Again, you get 3 of these in A. Can be very, very good for taking out hard targets like heavy armor, enemy IS-2s and the whatnot. Well, technically enemy Tigers and Panthers now, because the Romanians are on the Allied side in this DLC. It's something I didn't mention, but it is the case. And then we have the BF-109 G4R6, which is the gun pod variant of the BF-109. Definitely a lot more reliable for killing enemy aircraft than the standard G2 because of those gun pods. And you get 2 in A, 4 in B, and 8 in C. Then there is some Ju-88s. So Ju-88A4 with the 4 250 kilogram bomb variant, 385 kilometers per hour speed, not too bad with the very good resilience. You get 1 in A, 4 in B, and 6 in C. So a nice big jump in availability there into B is generally where you're going to want to take them. Then we have the HS-129B2R4, which is the HS-129 cluster variant with the cluster AP. These can be pretty reliable at killing things, but they suffer massively with speeds. What ends up happening is when they approach the target, they get suppressed a little bit, the cluster spreads too much, and you don't reliably get kills. But you will probably pin those things down that you're targeting at least. And if they're already damaged, well, you might get kills as well. So yeah, not a terrible choice. I just feel like the later you get into the game and the more AA there is, the more useless these become. Then we have the Ju-88A4 with an extra 16 50kg bombs on top of those 4 250kg bombs for an extra 25 points. I believe that's exactly the same. You also lose a bit of speed. I really don't think this is worth 135 points. It would probably be like 115 points would probably be more fair, because these 50kg bombs really aren't going to be doing much for you, and availability on these absolutely sucks. And that is your lot for the 8th Cavalleria Purtată. So let's just quickly put together a quick deck. We'll start in the recon. I don't think I'm going to take the Motor Mitragliera just because you can get radio elsewhere. So it's mostly just going to be Kardashian, and I think I'm going to do 2 in A, 1 in B, and 1 in C with the extra vet, because these can be super strong with veterancy. And you can be quite generous in your recon tab due to the low activation point cost. You're also probably going to be wanting to take the horses just because they're useful. And otherwise, I think that's enough for recon. Moving into the infantry tab, we definitely want the Pioneri Cavallerie. We can take these boys in A due to their decent availability. I'm going to take the Roscioli Assault for my close range in B. And then we're going to want the Kardashian Moto for long range in A. And some Vinatale Degada for some sticky infantry in A. I'm also going to put a card of those in B. And then for phase C, we're going to do Kardashian Moto with probably maybe some standard Roscioli, just for the lower price on them, I think. So we pop them in C, and then I'm going to be popping in the leader as well, which I will be taking. Like, for me, it's probably between the Vinatale Degada and the Pioneri Cavallerie, because the Panzerschrecks early on could be really helpful, but I kind of want the radio, so we'll take the 5-man leader squad there. For the tank tab, pretty simple stuff, just both of these at max vet. Then we're going to be taking the infantry commander, we know that much. I'm going to be taking the Breda. I will probably take these in A. We also probably want to take some ZBs, and we might need supply, but we'll come back to that based on what we take in the artillery tab. In the anti-tank, we are definitely taking the Jagdpanzers. I'm going to bring them in phase A with the 1 vet there. Reshica, we're going to do in B and C. I'm upbetting them in B because you don't lose as many. And then in C, we're getting 6 because otherwise you lose 3, which kind of sucks. We're also going to be bringing in the Pak 38s in phase A, really useful. And I'm also going to want to bring in the Panzerschrecks and Vinatale Degada, I think. So we'll do Panzerschrecks in A with Vinatale Degada in B. For anti-air, I'm going to do Hotchkiss with the Hotchkiss truck in phase A. And we're going to do some Bofors, upvetted Bofors in B. And let's see. The AA here, I just realized, isn't very good availability wise for phase C. So I'm actually just going to take the vet off those. And we'll add in some of the Vickers guns as well. For artillery, we need the artillery leader because we're kind of sacrificing infantry tab for more infantry availability. I would like solid option in phase A for artillery. So I think I'm kind of tempted to go for the 100 mils, since we can make use of that radio. Otherwise, what's the point in bringing in radio in the first place? Definitely want off map. We're going to bring in B. And I might also opt for some mortars in A. And then we do the air tab. So BF 109s I would like to bring early on. I think I'm going to do JU-88 Recon though. The other thing that could be fun is doing this. That looks disgusting. And then just going with BF 109's G2s in A, and then 109 G4 R6s in phase B. I think this bomber is worth having, and if I wasn't memeing so much with these JU-87s, then that would probably be what I take instead. Anyway, this is 8th Cavalleria. I don't know if I'm spelling that right, but I'll fix it later on. Portatë. There we go. Cool. And that's a rough deck. Very rough deck. I'm probably going to adjust it when I play with it, but the main gist here is that you do have limited armor, but you can kind of exploit it early on. I think this division is going to be super strong in the early game, probably going to be a very strong 1v1 division because of the fantastic infantry. Like high availability means decent veterancy without losing availability, and that's what people will opt for. And then you've got decent veterancy on your early armor, and you get decent early armor in the form of the Jagdpanzer, and later on you can still deal with heavy vehicles using the Rashidza and potentially your aircraft. And you've also got plenty of Panzerschrecks, all that good stuff. So a really nice strong early game division that can still fight on to the late game with their availability. I actually really like this division, and I think it would be fun to play. But that's it. Hope you guys have enjoyed this look at the 8th Cavalleria Portatë. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.